Welcome back to the Coffee and Kidlit Show. My name is Travis D. Peterson, and this is a show that's all about imaginative stories and real conversations. I get to invite some children's book authors on the show and just talk about their experience with the journey of publishing as well as what inspired their books. And today I'm so excited to have Tenille Bettenhausen. Is that the right pronunciation?
That's
Yes.
me.
Uh, Excited to have her on the show. Tenille wrote, where did I put it? Over here on this side. Maybe I'll be an architect. And this is such a cute little story, and I'm gonna let her kind of talk more about the story itself. But Tenille, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us who you are, and tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me on, Travis. I only wake up this early for one person, and it's you. My name is Tenille Bettenhausen, and I live in Southern California, and I'm a mom of two girls. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. And I've been married for a long time. It feels like a long time, probably 17, 18 years. And like I said, we live in California. I have a background in architecture. Currently, well, for like at least good 15 years of my career, I worked in project designing, working with clients, and now I'm on the software side. So I work in design technology full time, and I think that's it. And I wrote the book. It came out in November of 2022. So I'm a new author. I consider myself a new
fresh release. New
That's
release.
fresh.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Well, it's interesting that I have you on the show because, and we're going to talk a little bit about the question of what do you want to be when you grow up. You know, that's kind of the question that we always ask our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually wanted to be an architect for.
You did?
I did. In fact, in college, I studied construction graphics. I didn't study print. I'm a print designer. I design books, but that's technically not what I studied, although that was part of it. But I was using. I know you work with BIM software. That's part of what your company works with, and I was working with Vertex back in the day. This was 20 years ago, and I don't even know if it's still in use because I'm not in this industry at all anymore. What's the big project? I mean, I know there's also Revit, Autodesk Revit, but what else is there? What's the big program that everyone uses for that?
A lot of it is going and very timely is more the digital twinning and AI, doing a lot of that 3D and 4D design. Revit obviously does that, but a lot of the products are moving more towards very digital based graphics, which is really, really cool. And, you know, I know that the company that I work for, we have our own IP, but we also resell, you know, Autodesk products, which makes Revit. And they've really moved into more the manufacturing space and video like with Amazon Video and Amazon Prime. So it's really neat to see the change in technology. I remember working in design and construction when they didn't want to use AutoCAD, and they just want to do everything by hand on the back of a cocktail napkin. Like, here's our designs and go draw it. They didn't want to use it. And now it's very much so industry standard. It's neat to see the evolution of technology over the last 20 years. And it's not going to stop.
Yeah. I come from a bit of a construction family. My dad is a carpenter, and he built the last two houses that my parents lived in, or I should say the first two houses. And my mom actually designed those houses. She was a print designer back before computers were used for that job, and she has no experience, as far as I know, in architecture, but she actually designed the houses that he built for our family. So
that's awesome.
A little bit in the genes.
love that.
I kind of, at times, I kind of wish I stuck to that industry, but I enjoy what I do now. So,
That's awesome.
um, but tell us what you wanted to be when you were a kid,
Oh,
thinking
this
about growing up.
this is gonna be real boring because I've always the answer. I've always wanted to be an architect.
You did,
I did,
yeah.
yeah. As a kid, I knew that I want that, or and my family always gives me grief over this. When they asked me that question originally, I said I wanted to be a flower. So I
A
started out
flower.
wanting to flower. Yeah, I wanted to be a flower. And then that evolved into becoming an architect. I wanted to do this for a really long time. I knew deep down that obviously my career has taken some pivots along the way, like being on the design
Mhm.
technology side now. But definitely always wanted or some part of architecture, like some part of design. I've always loved it.
Now, when you were actually doing the design, was there a certain focus? Was it residential or commercial, or what were you working with?
Yeah, so you Yeah, I never did residential. So people always come to my house and they're like, waiting to see this like amazing, design. And I'm like, the cobbler has no shoes, right? Like,
Right.
I don't design houses. But I did healthcare and education. So I really aligned myself with projects that helped the community. I started out doing retail. So I started out, I don't even know if it's still a brand. Guess Jeans was a like very popular thing back when I started had my first job in design, and I did retail spaces, and I did stores, and then I moved into working for Starbucks, like doing design for Starbucks. And while coffee is very necessary, I just didn't feel like I was making an impact on the community, and so I went into healthcare, and then the firm that I was working for did healthcare and education. So that was where I
Yeah.
pretty much landed, and it was really neat. Like one of the key projects that I worked on was the labor and delivery department of a hospital where I wound up having my own kids, and um, it's just really neat to be a part of a project that is used by so many different people and helps people. Um, Probably a little like professional hazard because when I was having my babies, I was like, that's not right. That's not supposed to be like that.
Mm,
Like, knowing a lot about the design of the building, but I thought it was really neat to come full circle to, something that's so needed in our community, and to be a part of it was really neat.
yeah. Just as a dad of a child that has a disability, I start to think about how buildings should be adjusted to kind of accommodate
Yep.
other kids with all kinds of disabilities. So I can understand that kind of adjustment when you have kids,
Yeah.
and you kind of get a new set of eyes on the structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So tell us a little bit about your book. Tell us what it's about. Introduce the characters.
Sure. So my book, Maybe I'll Be an Architect, is about a girl dreaming of careers. And it's there it is. And
Mhm.
it's about dreaming about careers. I think that, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but I just feel like kids don't really do a lot of dreaming about what they want to be. It's like, they want to be TikTokers or, YouTubers, but this book is really about um, imagining that you would be one career and always that love. And it's really mostly my love story to the profession, right? Like maybe I'll
Mhm.
be a politician or a president, but really that love for architecture and that love for STEM um, related careers, she always gets drawn back to it. Like if you see here,
Mhm.
like, maybe I'll be a veterinarian, but she can't help but pull out drawings and start like drafting, and that design side of her just doesn't stop in any
Yeah.
career that she's thinking about. And like I said earlier, my career took some pivots, but it always came back to design and construction.
Do you miss kind of being behind the draftsman's table at this stage in your career?
I do. I think some days I do, because I don't actually currently bring projects to fruition, right? Like that's why I wrote the book. Like I don't have the start and the stop anymore.
Mm,
My current role is I'm a client success manager. So I make sure that my architects and engineers and designers utilize the software to the best that it can be, because it's like every software, right? You open it up, I'm sure, like it's like Word can do probably way more than what we use it for, and so our
mhm.
software is the same. And so my job is to really make sure that they're utilizing it, and they don't have any issues with it, and they're able to build stronger, faster, and better. But it doesn't come to an end. I just continue on, like it doesn't stop. And so with traditional design, it's a project and it has a start date, and you get kicked off, and it's like that feeling of like, this is so fun and great. I love everything new. And then you work really
Yeah.
hard through it, and then you cut a ribbon and you walk away and you're like, that was really cool. I don't have that cadence anymore. So
Hmm.
uh the project manager and me, that's how I create these little projects, like these little mini projects that have the start and the stop, so I can be
Yeah.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, I did see on your Instagram that I'm, I don't know that I realized this until I saw the post, but the character in your story is kind of inspired by your own kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a mix of both of my daughters. They always ask, like, oh, who is that on the cover? Is that me, or is that, my sister? It's both of you.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
mix. I can't
My
tell them which
kids are
one
at
it
that
is.
age now. It doesn't matter what they're watching. They're trying to say which character is them, you
Yep.
know.
Same. Same.
So tell us what exactly inspired this book, other than wanting kind of that physical product that you wanted to put out. What
Yeah.
what inspired this book particularly?
So if you had asked me in January of 2022, was I going to be a children's book author, I would have said, no. What are you talking about? I got a full-time job. I got 2 kids back there. Absolutely not. And I was asked to speak at a industry conference on diversity in BIM technology. And so in that research, I found all statistics about women in STEM and STEAM related careers, and specifically African American women in these careers. And I started to think, like, why? What is wrong? Like, what is going on? Like, there's got to be, there's something is going on. So in that research, I started to dig, and obviously during the pandemic here in the U.S., there was a lot of like unrest and a lot of protesting, and a lot of change being asked to be made. And so in that, there was like a lot of like qu- uh, conversations about how to make our career more diverse. And they're huge issues, like access to education and the cost of education. I know that we'll probably talk about this a little bit later as well, but so there are very big problems that I'm like, I'm just a mom in Southern California. Like, I don't know how to fix these issues. But really, I thought kids don't really have the role modeling. Like when I was younger, I watched TV. I watched probably too much TV, but I did watch, like when I was
Mhm.
homesick, I was watching TV. Like, that's all we really did. And so careers were really role modeled to us. And my daughters don't really watch a lot of TV. What they are consuming is, influencers, and
Mhm.
on TikTok, and influencers, which nothing wrong with that. But somewhere in the middle of being an astrophysicist and being a TikToker is is a career that you're going to have to do. And so if kids don't have access to role models and they don't have access to any career is possible, I think on this side of it, being however old I am, I recognize that it is true. Like, you really can be whatever you want to, you want to be. Like, anything, it's infinite amounts of opportunity. And so I thought, I'll write a kid's book and I'll get them excited about careers very early, instead of, we task our high school seniors to know exactly what they want to be and pursue in college at 17 years old, which is crazy. And they're not thinking about that prior to the day that they sign and say, I want to go to Arizona State and I want to pursue architecture. Like, what? Like, nobody's talking about where, so I thought, let's start encouraging them young. And the world of possibility it's not just architecture. It could be anything, but my girls get to see, I practice architecture. My husband is an attorney. So they get to see those two professions. So they know really well what those two things do. But kids that don't have, parents that, do different types of careers are limited. And so I thought, let me just write a book encouraging everybody, all kids, that any career is possible, and start thinking about it early.
Yeah. No, I did see that you had shared a statistic on social media, the number of architects that are African American women. 0.4%.
Yeah, in the U.S.
In the U.S., right. Yeah. So how can we turn that around? Other than, I mean, you've talked a little bit about kind of the role models, and your kids have two really great role models in their parents. But other than role models, what else can we do to sort of turn around that statistic? Not just for architects, but for other careers, whatever they may want to pursue.
I think it's just mentoring. Like, I wrote the book and I thought, I'm just going to write it. I'm going to get it out there. It's going to be on like Amazon, wherever people want to buy it. Right. And I had a girlfriend that owns a bookstore that said that's local here, that was like, I need you to come to the store and read the book, because kids need to see you. It's not just some random like person behind the screen writing it. They need to see you. And so I think the mentoring aspect is really, really important, that kids see. I spoke at a Title I school here locally, and that's I think it's like 40% of the kids that attend the school are under the poverty line. And so the kid, I read the book and the kids were like, but I could also be an author. And I didn't even really think like, oh, of course, like you can too. And so I think it's really mentoring and showing kids like that there are professionals in, that are diverse in all careers, but really showing that, because I don't think we do a good job of showing that, most careers are, have other, other nationalities in it besides just one. There's diversity in a lot of them, but if you don't see it, you don't know that it's available to them.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say to, if you were sort of face to face with a girl right now, to sort of inspire them towards either a STEM career or whatever is on their heart to do?
Go for it. You gotta go for it. And I right now am on a advisory board that encourages young women that are in high school to pursue leadership. So it's a board of C-suite, individuals, or I'm not I'm not C-suite, but just managers and professionals and VPs at their company to just encourage girls to pursue whatever they want. And so that's it. I mean, it sounds so stupid or like very simple, right? Like just go for it. But really, when you have somebody in your corner rooting for you, it's absolutely necessary, to have that mentor mentee relationship. And I think the more that we do that, the more we'll see young women, they may have an interest in it, but think that's not for me. There's no room for me at the table. And there absolutely is. And something about that statistic that really stuck with me, the point, and it's actually 0.04. I was like, is that even a whole person?
Wow, yeah.
Like, what? How do you even get that statistic? I don't know where it even came from, but it's just, just challenge the status quo. Like, there is room for you at the table. There's room for your voice here. And so don't be discouraged. I mean, I tell my own kids that, like, don't be discouraged in pursuing what you love, because if you love it, go for it.
I think that's gold because, I think there are a lot of kids out there who they're not getting that encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have someone in their corner that's kind of encouraging them and pushing them to do what they love and to find something that they are passionate about. So like you said, just having one person behind them, encouraging them and saying, go for it. Yeah, do it, see where it goes.
Yeah. You
That's
never
really
really, yeah, you never really know. And I think, being a part of this board has been eye-opening for me, because I think, I take for granted the amount of mentors that I've had along my career that, have really spoke truth into me, that things that I didn't see about myself. Like,
Yeah.
and you really do need that. Like, oh, I didn't know that
Mm.
I was really good at, public speaking or, talking to clients, and so if someone hadn't have spoken that to me, I wouldn't be in the role that I'm in now. And so I feel like we just don't, and I don't know. Like I said, I have 2 kids, and I try to encourage them all the time. And sometimes they're not even listening to us, right? They're like, yeah, whatever, but sometimes it needs
Yeah.
to be another individual really speaking that truth into them. And so I'm hopeful that, I don't know if it's just one person that is encouraged, to to dream and do a job that they're like, you know, why not? Like, why not? And, I think another reason why I really wanted to do this, I read another statistic during that preparation to speak at the conference, that for every one kid that says they want to be an astronaut, 3 of them want to be, TikTokers. And so we've got to,
Mm.
like I said, that balance of, like, somewhere in the middle of being an astronaut. Because I think I did want to be an
Yeah.
astronaut at some point. Like every
Yeah.
kid did. And then, so I think just, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like, is that effort really doing anything? But you know what? It doesn't matter if it is. Hopefully one girl will remember the advice that we gave and go for it, whatever it is. Maybe it's architecture. I don't know.
By the way, what do your girls want to be at this point? Do they have something in mind?
Yes, my oldest wants to be an attorney, like my husband, and she probably will be a really good attorney. She can reason very well and argue very well. So I'm like, great. I'm glad that skill is.
She's the oldest.
Yes. Yay. I'm so glad you picked up on that.
Right.
But but my youngest is, she's the dreamer. Every day it's a different career, like, and that's great. I'm like, that's awesome. She's like, I want to be a fashion designer. I want to bake, cakes and cookies and wedding cakes. And I'm like, that's great. You know what? You could be whatever you want to be, honey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can say my oldest, again, he's 8, just turned 8. When I asked him a couple of years ago, he said he wanted to be a book designer like me, wanted to make kids' books. And I thought that was okay. Now, the most recent thing I've heard him say is, I want to be the best video game player. After getting a Nintendo, that's all right. He's about right now. And I'm a little hesitant to encourage that.
But, there's design in that.
Right. So I'm not sure about my daughter. She just turned 5. She probably wants to be a unicorn wrangler or something like that. So
yeah. I love that too. I love asking kids before I read the book, like, what do you want to be? And they're like, a sumo. I heard sumo wrestler this last week for Read Across America. So I was like, wow, I've actually never heard anybody say they want to be a sumo wrestler. That's actually funny. And I heard a lot of princesses, which, I mean, that's awesome too. You can be whatever you want to be.
That's right. Well, we have a few more questions coming in for Tenille, and we're going to kind of switch gears and start talking a bit more about the publishing journey that you went through. And for anyone watching this either live or the replay later, I have started a new book club where I'll be sending out a book each month to those who join. And you can check that out at patreon.com/launch mission. So if you go there and sign up, I will send you a physical book from one of my authors each month, that one of the authors on the show. So go and check that out at patreon.com/launch mission. And if you're interested in a copy of Tenille's book, Maybe I'll Be an Architect, it is on Amazon. And I have the link down in the description of this podcast video, wherever you might be watching or listening to this. And so go check that out. And there's also the Spanish edition. So when did that come out at the same time, or was that a little bit later? Or
a little bit later.
November?
Yeah.
November last year?
Yes, November 2022. And so I wrote the English version, and I have several girlfriends whose kids are in dual immersion programs here in Southern California. And they're like, we need, better Spanish books. Like, they're not diverse, and they're not, they're just whatever, the bookstore has in the back. And they just kind of like, here you go. It's like the old stock here. And so, I thought, well, let's see how hard it is to translate it. And our Facebook group is mighty to save when you just type in, what do I do here? ... And there's plenty of recommendations. So I found a translator. She's amazing. And got the, once I had done it one time, which about publishing, it's like, well, it's not, the first time is always the hardest, but after that I was like, oh, I could do this. So I went ahead and did it.
Well, I'm impressed, because you said this time last year you would have laughed at the idea of publishing a book, and here you are with a book out and a Spanish translation, much faster than I was able to do it. and so that's that's really impressive. And that's actually one thing I wanted to talk to you about is, and you've posted a few things about this, but the idea of juggling writing and publishing a book, a children's book, in the middle of working full-time, managing a family, raising kids, all these things. And I've got, I'm going to pull up this video that you made on TikTok, if I can get it to come up here. I'm hoping the audio works, so let me know if you hear it or not.
No, I don't hear it. No.
I never know how to get the audio to come through with the sharing the screen, but you can go to is it Tenille B Writes? Is that
Mhm.
what it is?
Yeah, Tenille B. Wright.
Instagram. And this is actually originally on TikTok, but you raised the question, how do you do this?
Right.
What have you found out? Like that's the wrong question. Why is it important for you to take on this book while working full time? Okay, that is the right question. Why was it important to do this now, as busy as you are?
You
And we
know,
talked a little bit about that, but maybe you have a little bit different answer.
no, I think it was just the need at the time. I saw that there was a need. And like I said, during the pandemic, some really amazing big architects in our career or in our profession came together, and they were like, how do we solve these big problems? And I felt like we got kind of stuck in analysis paralysis, right? Like, there's so much
Mhm.
that we could do, but I can't pay for a college education for everybody that wants to study architecture. Or, I mean, I don't own a college, like, to let people in and give them access to education. And so I thought, let me just see if I could write something that's worthwhile, like get it on paper, um, and um, and see if I could even do this. And I had it written, and I was like, oh shoot, like I guess I need to get it illustrated. Like, I don't know. And so, like I said, our Facebook group, I would say, for this is a tip, is to join a group of authors and illustrators that have done it before many times, and also with people that have never done it before, that are asking the same questions that you're asking, because there's just a wealth of information in those groups of people that are willing to share it, and share their journey. And so it was very, very helpful to join those groups. um, but so that was why it was important to do it. And even though I work full time, and I did, you know, have to juggle, taking care of kids and picking them up, and I have a club volleyball player, and I mean, you name it, I have it going on, and a cat that needed to go to the vet. Like, all these things were happening at the same time, and
Right.
so I just made it a priority to write it, and stuck with it. That's the best thing that I could say. What pushed me through is that I really wanted to see it. I wanted to see it
Mhm.
and hold it in my hand.
You had that drive,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
passion to get it out. I know when I think it was the release date for the book. You had mentioned that you had all these uh, deadlines for work and all these things happening with your family. And okay, I stalked you a little bit for this interview, so
That's right.
I've
I was like,
been
really?
watching these posts
Wow.
on your yeah.
Okay. Well, you do
Um,
know. Yeah, I had a lot going on.
but yeah, but you had a lot going on when the book was released, and it's like, what do I do? How do how do I handle all this at one time? What have you learned about balancing all these hats, or juggling all these things at one time?
I've had plenty of girlfriends that have asked, like, or people that will come up to, I'm sure you have it too. People come up to you like, I really want to write a book. I've been thinking about writing a book. And early 2022, I was juggling before I even had the book idea. Like I said, I was asked to present at a conference. I have a full-time job, kids, yada yada. And also was the vice president of the PTA, also on
Hmm.
all of these professional boards. And as the pandemic was, kind of curving a little bit, travel was becoming a part of our lifestyle again. So I was going to work meetings and going to conferences for those board positions. And my husband flippantly said, "You need to Marie Kondo your life." So I don't know if
Hmm.
your watchers know what that is, but Marie Kondo wrote the book, like, the life-changing magic of tidying up, and it's about like getting rid of clutter. And so you're supposed to grab, like, I don't know, I have this scrunchie, and you're like, does this scrunchie bring me joy? And if it does, you get to keep the scrunchie. If it doesn't, you got to throw it away, right? So
Yeah.
And so he, like I said, flippantly said, you need to Marie Kondo your life. And we all laughed. I thought that was really funny. And then I thought, okay, wait, actually, he's right. Because I have a lot of positions that I'm a joiner. Something y'all need to know about me. If you ask me to do something, I'll do it. Like, oh, I need your help with XYZ. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Like, what day do you need me? I'll do it. Because I have that, like, need to, like, help in some way. And so I had all of these positions and responsibilities that didn't bring me joy anymore. And so I had to go through and write them down. And, I'm this to these people and I'm this to these people, but does it bring me joy currently? And if it did not, it had to go. And so obviously finishing up my responsibility, because we do this to our kids all the time. Like, my oldest daughter has played cello for 5 years and was a beautiful cellist. And she came to us and said, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't love it anymore. And heartbroken. But we said, you have to finish your commitment because you took a seat in the orchestra from some other kid and they're relying on you to play with them to make it sound good. So you are going to complete this year. And when you're done with this year, you can move on to whatever it is that you want to move on to. And so I finished those board positions and I finished my PTA role. And that freed up enough time for me to be able to write the book, to be perfectly honest. And so it doesn't mean that I can't go back to PTA when, this part of my story or my journey is done. But for right now, I make time for the things that I want to get accomplished. And I'm not too busy to do the things that I want to do. And so I had to look at it from that perspective. And obviously I need to feed my kids 3 times a day and get them to school. So I cannot Marie Kondo that part, but I can of the things that I voluntarily got myself into. And so, like I said, I freed up that time and made time to write the book. And so that's probably why I got it done in the amount. I mean, it's a rhyming book. It's not like, I didn't write a whole trilogy of this 1,000-page novel. It's 30 pages.
Right.
So, but
500 words, give or take, fits on one sheet of paper.
Yeah, it's not that hard. And it rhymes. But I would just encourage people to, like, you make time for the things that you want to get done. And so I had that time period and I went for it. And so I think anybody wanting to write that book, that's in you. Like, I think, because I facetiously say, like, if you asked me if I would have wrote a kid's book earlier last year, I would have said no, but I did have that desire to write about our profession, and encourage kids. I just didn't think that I was going to actually do it. So.
Right.
I did.
Well, I really love that. And I think you mentioned that in the video that I tried to play, write the book. And that's actually my theme for this year for my business, as a designer, as well as this show, is to just write the book. I think so many people out there are nervous or, just like you, they're busy and it's hard to find the time, but just write the book.
Just write the book.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, the nerve part too, there is an aspect to that. You are putting, this is your baby. Like, you put it out there, for the world. And then somebody's like, that sucked. But it's okay. Like, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's for, kindergartners and first graders. They love it. So, but, you just write it. You got to write it. And I actually just talked to one of my girlfriends on the phone that I, known for 15 years and maybe longer, 20 years. And her son has severe allergies, like the kind where it's like, no peanut butter anywhere, no nothing. Like he can't even be at the table with people that are, having severe allergies. And she wants to write the book not encouraging parents, but encouraging the kids, because we're all like worried about how we're going to handle XYZ for our kids, but there's a kid there living it. And so she wanted to write a book about walking through that journey. And it's really his book, I guess, like from his perspective. And I just told her, we got to write it. Got to write it.
That's right.
That is your journey and your story. And you just got to put it on paper. And now that reminds me, I need to call her to make sure that she's writing it.
There you go. There you go. Check in on her.
Yep.
Be that role model. Absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of write the book, what's next for you? Do you have any sneak peeks? Anything you want to share with us?
I do, of course. So I am currently illustrating Maybe I'll Be an Engineer. So I'm going to do so it's traditionally called in our profession the AEC industry, right? So it's architecture, engineering, and construction. So I'll continue on with that. So there'll probably be at least 3 in our industry representing AEC. And I was asked to just continue on with careers, like just keep it going. Like, maybe I'll be an attorney, or, maybe I'll be an astronaut. So I'm not sure where it's going to end, but maybe I'll be an engineer. We'll probably be out in May of this year.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you've already got the ball rolling, and that's fantastic.
Yep.
So you have also been quite busy with school visits, I believe, and other things. How's that going for you as a new author, to be able to do those kinds of events?
I love it. I thought that I wouldn't like really enjoy it because, it's like, I mean, that's your target audience, right? Like, I just thought I was so nervous. And kids are so awesome. They're like, I went to this one event and I read the book, and this boy came up to me and he's like, "You're so smart." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know I was going to get like affirmations. Like, I thought I was here to affirm you, but oh, thank you so much. They're so sweet." And I had a little boy, he's probably like 4. And he, before, like I said earlier, I asked kids, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And he was like, "I want to be a monster truck driver." And I was like, "That's cool. I love that." Like, all right. And so after I read the book, he came up to me and he's like, "Can I tell you something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what do you want to tell me?" He's like, I think I want to be a general contractor now, because I want to be like you. And I thought, okay, that's really cool. Their kids are just really awesome to like bounce ideas off of, right? Like they're like, really, really cool. But at the heart of it, they're really encouraging. And, like I said, I got like this one kid said I was super smart, which I was like, that carried me for the rest of the week. It's like, yes, I am. Thank you. But so if you ever need affirmations, go and read at a school, because they're good for it. But it's really neat to see the impact. Like, I later was walking outside of the event, and I heard kids that were like, "You know what? Maybe I will be an architect or an engineer or an astrophysicist," or whatever it is. Like, they're thinking about that. And that's why I wrote the book in the first place. So I like school visits, and I like that kids are getting to see someone like me write a book, and someone like them, to see that they could be whatever they want to be. So it's neat.
I love that through this book and through your visits, you're kind of giving kids a different look at their future. And, maybe they start out wanting to be that TikToker or wanting to be that unicorn wrangler. But you're able to kind of open their mind a little bit and have them think about some other careers that can be really beneficial and helpful. And so that's fantastic. Well done. It's a beautiful book. Ira, the illustrator, did a great job of capturing the story. And so I recommend this for anyone who wants to kind of start the conversation with their own kids about their future careers.
Yep.
I don't think it's ever too early to begin asking the question.
Nope.
So Maybe I'll Be an Architect by Tenille Bettenhausen. Again, the link for the Amazon listing is in the description. I'm sure Tenille has a website. What's your website?
It's Tenille. Yeah, of course. It's Tenille B Writes. Of course. It's Tenille B Writes.
Tenille B Writes. Yeah. And that's also your Instagram if anyone wants to follow you there.
And my
Tenille,
TikTok.
thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and sharing your book with us.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Thank you. Thank you. And
great.
For encouraging me too. That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you enjoy this kind of content, if you love hearing what other Kidlit authors are doing and kind of the background behind their story, please hit that subscribe button and the like button. Leave comments, ask questions. We'll be happy to answer them. And I'm just so thankful for anyone who watches this, that you come along for the journey. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be having Izzy B with me. Izzy is so fun. He has his own YouTube channel that is very entertaining for kids, and he has done so well with really entertaining author visits with schools, and so I'm looking forward to talking with him. That's going to be fun. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks very much. Bye.